for those listening to this, if you saw our little girls, they are young, little, honoring, respectful women is what they are. And that's because Jacquie put so much energy into making sure that they are equipped. So I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world. Okay, guys, episode 27. We're continuing a little bit of our story so you get to understand our journey. You know, a lot of times people see our family is six, and they just think, you know, that we just had perfect pregnancies and everything happened. But now you get to hear a little bit about our first journey with these first little twins that we had. And, you know, we were talking about the NICU, and that was another one of those things where all new, like, what's a NICU? Like, what does it mean? They keep your babies in an incubator, literally. You don't get to take your babies home. Another thing that we did not expect. And here, oh man, do you get read or reminded of, or I would say informed is probably the better word, of all the things that could possibly be wrong now because your baby was early, right? And I don't know if it's just like a hospital thing where they feel like they have to do this to cover their own butts legally or something like that, but I'm telling you, man, you want to talk about the bearer of bad news. And I remember them just constantly pouring this stuff in. Oh, hey, Bella has a little, look at this thing in this, whatever you call it, this x-ray that shows this thing on her brain, right? Or, you see them and you're like, yeah, your kids should be starting to eat by a certain time on their own, but they're not yet. And, just so you know, there's some developmental issues that could happen because your kids are so little. I remember all this stuff. They're like, remember, you take our process here, and it was like 2 years of overcoming unbelief and doubt and fighting for our fighting for truth just to have kids. Then it was like a pregnancy. It was harder. Then it was early kids. And then it was like this season of the NICU where they were supposed to have to stay there for how long? Like, I think at least a month, they said, was what they predicted for us. And
originally they predicted 2 because they say that
months.
they're going to have to stay for the, until their due date, you
Yeah.
know. But, again, bear bad news and combating that, again.
And what did we do?
The biggest thing that I can tell people is that if you're in a situation, and it doesn't have to be just with children or anything like that, but there will be situations with all of our children where they get hurt or, things happen, that we have to be stronger than the situation around us. And so for us personally, when they were, there, I mean, literally the doctors, they would try to say something. We'd say, you know what? We rebuke this. Mm-hmm. We do not believe this. Mm-hmm. What you say is not the truth.
Yeah.
I understand what you think you see, but we already know.
Yeah, we believe your baby has this kind of developmental issue. And we'd be like, we rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
And they kind of look at us like,
we don't even know what that means.
Should I continue?
And we'd be like, no.
We're good.
Yeah.
And
we let them do their job at the same time. We're just like, with people skills, like, you can stop talking now.
I think it was, again, where we had to be in communication enough because, they kind of come at you when you're not, fully ready to hear it.
You're still trying to heal from a major operation, a C-section. And,
right. And on top of it, lack of sleep, no real food, can't even think straight, emotionally
which is
drained.
Always challenging. The hospital that even the babies are at is an hour away from our home one way. So even if when we did go home, it was like you had this back and forth thing.
Yeah, like for me personally, I went every single day to visit them and every single day come and be with them and feed them. I spent but you know what? Like I look back now and those times that I got to do that, I had a chance to be the best version of what God did in me at that time. I was really in a position where I was so thankful to have these beautiful children that I am going to show the light everywhere I go. And I'm not saying I was perfect or anything like that, but like, my gosh, I was so excited to get to that place every single day. I'd go there from whatever, 8 in the morning to 8 at night, come home, rest, take care of myself some, go back the next day. And it was 3 weeks straight. It was 3 weeks straight like that. And every time I did, I got to bond with, of course, our children, but I also got to show other moms that were there that there is hope and there is goodness, and that even what the doctors say don't have to be the truth, and that you don't have to believe that stuff.
Yeah.
And that you and your family can walk out of here too, completely healthy, healed, and ready to go. And it was really a testimony again of just having our mindset right, keeping my thoughts right.
I remember for me, daily, I was trying to stand on certain scriptures. I remember every single day, whenever they would say anything about our kids, it'd be like, no, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And I'd be like, Abby Bella, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. I remember saying, Abby Bella, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Hey, Abby Bella, no weapon on this planet formed against you can ever prosper. Nothing prospers against you that's a weapon. I remember saying that any tongue that rises against any of us, including you, Abby and Bella, in judgment will be condemned. And that can be a doctor report or anything else. It is condemned in Jesus' name. And I just remember having to stand on this and stand on this and stand on this and constantly speak it and say it and believe it. And, babies were supposed to be there for 8 weeks. When did we bring them home?
Yeah, they came home after 3 weeks. We got to bring them home. And they came back home healthy, happy, like not one issue whatsoever. They were little, and we had, I had to go extra levels to make sure that they got enough of the right nutrients. But literally, we brought them into the house, and I remember, we brought them in, brought their car seats, put them down, and we just looked around like, okay, now what? Like, what do we do? And I'm like, I guess we start feeding. I
totally remember that. Walking in with that car seat, and our twins were remember, they didn't even fit like behind the seatbelt because they were so small. I could hold one in one of my hands, What were they, 4 pounds and like 3 something, And so very small, bring them in, set them in the kitchen. And I just remember going and washing my hands, getting a drink of water, and just remembering like, okay, now what? Like, this whole journey just began. Like, we can't give this baby back anywhere or do anything different. Nobody else is coming to help. What do we do?
Yeah, I do. I remember that. Like, so do we show them around? Like, this is your new room. Like, this is where mommy and daddy sleep. This is,
We were introducing them to our dogs. We had our labs back then, and little Savannah, our yellow lab, would just sit next to wherever he had the babies.
She was so good.
Right away, she became like a secondary mom.
Yeah, she was such a sweet, sweet pup to them. And, I just remember to this day, just kind of sitting down being like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the real thing.
Right. So everything
what we
that
dreamed about for so
about
long and wanted, and just the hopes were all coming right now in my little space. And I just remember thinking again, like, God, you are so good. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I know it's like sometimes you sit there and you forget the journey, of how good he is. Yeah. And, did it all work out like I wanted to? No, not at all. I mean, the whole thing didn't work out like I thought it would, or even how I would want it to. But it didn't mean it didn't work out. It didn't mean that the end of the story said, and we won. Yeah. You know what I mean? At the end of the story, he still gets all the glory, because it is so amazing to think that we can sit here today, and I'm literally looking out our window, and the kids are jumping on their trampoline over there, having so much fun, doing their back flips, front flips, and whatever flips are going on out there. Drusy just took his shirt off because, he's all manly there. And like, I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, to think at one point I could have believed the lie. Yeah. I could have believed the lie that it wasn't for us. Mm-hmm. Being parent, either A, let our fears take over and no, we probably aren't cut out for it. You're right. Yeah. Let's not do this. To, oh, maybe not for us. Maybe something's wrong where we can't have them.
And I remember an added fear we haven't talked about is that even when we decided we were going to have kids, you were hoping we wouldn't have girls. Do you remember that? Because you were afraid that you wouldn't know what to do to raise girls. Right. Do you remember? Yeah. Isn't that something?
5 girls later.
5 girls later, using all your clothes right now.
All my clothes, all my shoes. Mom, when did you get this? Please put it back.
But again, like this is one of those things where it's like, okay, because I'm afraid of having girls, I'm going to start hoping I have boys. But God had a different plan.
The whole time.
He had a plan knowing that you were going to be the best mom of girls on the planet. And he was kind of like, okay, I kind of know. See, it's like one of those things where, wow, you're so good, God. Because for anybody listening to this, especially our kids in the future, right? You should see your mom. You want to talk about someone who is the absolute master of being a mom of girls. And you are raising champion girls. I watch how you take time for them. I watch how you learn how to understand each of their emotions based on their personalities. I watch how you have different unique ways that you get them to open up to you. I watch their tremendous trust in you, and that doesn't come quick. That's earned over years. I watch how you aren't perfect, but you know how to ask for forgiveness, and you gain more trust through that. I watch how you have, even though we have so many different moving parts in our life, they're always such a high priority, and they know it. I watch how you help them navigate different seasons of their life, whether it's things like puberty or learning about sex education, or even having to navigate right now, why is that boy dressed like a girl, or vice versa? What does that bathroom sign mean? That, is this a men's room or a women's room? But having these conversations with such class and teaching our girls, for those listening to this, if you saw our little girls, they are young, little, honoring, respectful women is what they are. And that's because Jackie puts so much energy into making sure that they are equipped. Like they are equipped at every way, from how do you dress, how do you talk to people in this situation, how do you carry yourself with proper etiquette, what does honor look like, you know what I mean? How do you show compassion in these kind of scenarios? Like it's an ongoing list of topics. And but the point is, I feel like even though you were afraid of having girls, like, where does fear come from?
Right. That's
you can go the acronym route, false evidence appearing real, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't even know where the fear came from for you. I don't really know. Maybe you do, but I just know you had it, right? And then also the other side is, 365 times in the Bible, it tells us not to fear.
Right.
And so whenever you're dealing with fear, 2 Timothy 1:7 is, for God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. And even though you had fear at the beginning, you've operated in power, love, and a sound mind ever since. So I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It takes real work, right? It doesn't come every day easy.
It does.
But
Yeah.
it takes real work.
But how rewarding is it to be a mom of 5 girls?
Oh my gosh. 5 amazing girls, and then our one handsome boy, like
He's awesome.
He's the coolest boy ever. And to say, that sweet boy of ours, I say all the time, he has seen more dance recitals and more gymnastics recitals that any boy should have to do, unless it's their own kid.
Yeah.
But he does it all with a good attitude, and he protects those girls so well, But, I just to kind of wrap up this whole thing is that, things are not going to go always like we planned. But I feel like at least if we kind of go in with more of a plan than without one, we can at least handle when things get changed up on us. And then you get a chance to look back, and as we continue to talk to everybody out there, like, it's so neat to see the knowledge that we've learned, really the information we've gained, and the examples now that we have in our lives to help us in areas as they continue to come our way. And we're so much more confident today than ever.
Yeah.
Even though the world is a complete crazy mess.
Yeah,
and that's the fun thing right now.
And a lot of the confidence comes from like these stories that we're telling. It isn't really confidence just from, hey, we know everything to do for the future.
No.
It ain't like that. It's just like we just have enough confidence from experience now of, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's probably really maybe the way faith should be described, where it's like we know to act on what the word says, and we know that it'll work.
Well, now,
what I mean?
Now that we know, we can't look back. Like, that's the coolest thing, is that because of our experience, we've seen what the Word of God can do.
Yeah.
We've seen what the Holy Spirit can do.
Yeah.
We've seen truth.
Yeah, it's different. It's different than at 27, we first started learning scriptures for the first time.
That's
and I'm
right.
kind of just saying them and wanting to believe in them. And then also now you have all these really special emotional experiences where you had to stand in them and then you saw them manifest themselves. Like you saw it happen.
And you would hear stuff that happened to others, but then when it happens to you, you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's like we have this, logbook of testimonies now.
That's right. And as all of us do, if we really sit down long enough to give, the glory where it belongs, there is so many testimonies where when we weren't prepared, when we weren't ready, when our faith wasn't there, when we were doubting, God never did. He said, trust in me, it'll work out. And just because it doesn't work out exactly like we think it should doesn't mean it's not working out. It's still going to work out. It's going to work out probably even better, even if you can't see that right now. And I can tell you there's been numerous times that I want things to happen a certain way, and they didn't work out that way at all.
Yeah.
Like not even close, And I walked away and I would be like, hey, God, like, did you hear me? Like, knock, knock, knock. Like, are you sleeping on the job today with me? Like, are you helping somebody else?
Oh, man.
But he's just like,
God is so good. Like, I mean, I feel like he knows that we're trying, and then we still kind of get in our own way sometimes. And when we do, he's just like, all right, I'm still going to make this work the right way it's supposed to anyway.
He loves us regardless of what we're doing all the time.
Kind of like after the twins. And then you were starting to heal, and things were finally getting back to normal after what felt like for you, I'm sure, a long season, being pregnant and being sick and all of that, and the NICU and young babies. And we didn't even really talk about the first few weeks when we had the babies home and they could drink like, this teeny little, like 3 drops of breast milk. And at a time we had to wake them up every 2 hours in order to keep feeding them that little, because they still couldn't swallow well because they weren't very developed. So we had the fear of, they could choke really easily and not know how to clear it. And it was just like I was on
high alert all the time.
High alert nonstop. We're taking shifts. Nobody's really getting any length of sleep, And so all that part happened. But now when stuff started settling down, I remember your body was getting back to normal. You were starting to feel normal again. And we were probably wondering, I don't know, should we have another kid? We weren't really ready to talk about it yet or anything. Then there's that one day I'm in my office and it's 8 months after we had the twins, I think it was. And all of a sudden Jackie comes walking through, and I had French doors with glass on them, and she's walking straight at me. And I don't know if anybody can relate to this out there, but when your wife is has a certain walk, kind of a march more, I would say, straight at you, eyes are directly focused on you with this look like you are going to get it kind of thing. I remember sitting back in my chair, pausing what I'm doing, and trying to have this, my wheels turn fast enough to think through what it possibly is that I did. She's so ticked off about right now. She opens the doors, and what'd you do? You stick that darn little P-test for being pregnancy test right in my face, like an inch away from my face. That's gross, by the way.
I wanted to make sure you saw it.
It's pretty gross, by the way. And she's like, look what you did.
Yeah.
Just like that. And I mean, it wasn't joking. It was like, you were legitimately mad at me, right?
And what do you do?
I was like, why does that thing smell funny?
No, you didn't. You started laughing. Is what you started doing. The wrong reaction.
But yours was right.
Reaction.
Yours was perfect, I'm sure.
It was.
Yeah. And so, anyways, that's how Chrissy came about. I tell people all the time, once we went through all this journey of having the twins and all that went into that, it's like after that I could just look at you or maybe touch your leg or something and you'd get pregnant. There was no struggle after that. I remember people started calling me Fertile Francis for a while.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so funny. But anyways, what a fun journey. Of course, Chrissy came next. And then,
out of all of our shoes, our biggest blessing, biggest surprise.
Yeah.
But
it helped us because, it was like.
She was such a healing component of really for me, knowing that my body, could do this. It wasn't anything else. I knew it could, but it was kind of, again, God's way of kissing on the cheek. He gave me that confirmation.
And it was a little bit of a challenging pregnancy, but not quite like the twins. You still got sick in the first trimester, but you went full term.
Yeah, I went full term. I was as
we didn't have
sick,
to deal with NICU type stuff.
Yeah, I think I was about as sick, but I think I went full term, which helped a ton. Yeah. And I knew what to expect at this point. But I mean, again, the blessing
Yeah.
of, surprise Chrissy. I mean, she's always been that in our life. She's always been that firecracker in our life. She's always been
she's
that
amazing.
energy. And so
She's really like a triplet. I mean, the three girls have been a team like triplets.
yeah, they truly, they're three peas in a pod,
Yeah.
and they all have different personalities and they all have, different emotions and they all handle things differently, but they have done so well together, figuring out, how to really be there for each other every single day, how to show up.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
It's crazy
I love it.
how close they really are in age, because you think about it, twins, when they were born, they were supposed to not be born for 2 more months. So it was really 6 months, what's the deal?
It is. And then of course, then we were like, hey, like we didn't know if we were done at that point. We were kind of like, it's been at that point we had 3 kids, 1 and under. And so it was.
And we decided if we're going to do
much.
it, let's do it now. Because I knew if we take a break, we won't probably get back in the game. And we're like, okay. And I remember at this point, I was so convinced the first 3 were going to be boys, and they weren't. And at this point, I was just like convinced in my mind, like, God, whatever you want. Like if it's a girl, I'm not going to be upset about this. Like I'm going to be okay with this. And then of course.
Which is just a funny thing. Isn't that funny that the pressure that you felt to even want to have a boy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be upset with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this pressure came on you to feel like you needed to have one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that you would be okay if it was or wasn't it.
Yeah. Then we had Juicy Man. And then we decided, well, maybe we should try to give him a brother.
We got the sweetest little.
Then we had my tomato, Eliana.
We had the sweetest
redhead.
little redhead that came on 4th of July. She's the day before, but she's just our literal.
And then of course Hunter came later. We'll tell that story, but yeah, what a special journey. But you know what? Hopefully for everyone listening, you see it as it's a journey of faith, and it's just for our family. All of our family, I mean, our children, they are a trophy to God's grace. No doubt about it.
Yeah, best thing.
Pretty cool.
Truly are.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. And we have great news. You get more of us. You can expect new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. So be sure to consistently tune in with us and enjoy our show. See you next time.